good friend, Steve Heilig, who we have is co-editor of the theme issue of the journal. I also brought some of the past issues for people to look at. And here's Steve.
Thank you, Dave. So you stole a little of what I was going to say just in terms of introduction, but I'm coming back to you. But let's just say first, thank you and welcome again. And also I'd like to second the, I've lived now for 33 years just up the street here in the Heilig. I'm a newbie, at least on this panel, to the neighborhood, or to the city. But the Booksmith, I call it the Paris of the Haight-Ashbury. I mean, it's the cultural center here, and they've done an amazing thing here with all the events they have here, so we're very grateful to be here. And I'm happy to be able to host some of these sometimes on various topics as well. Been a book critic for the Chronicle for many years as well, and so I'm very much a book guy too. With regard to the topic tonight, we live in what are called interesting times. I would say, as a student of the history of drug policy and cannabis in particular, this is the most fascinating time in memory, or in history actually, in terms of what's going on, both scientifically, politically as well, and culturally, what's going on. It's basically chaos, in a sense, of what is happening. There are things going on right now where we can, with some confidence, say that cannabis will be legalized in California this year. That is something that not many people would have said not that long ago, but it seems to be happening. As Dave mentioned, there have been a number of panels and important incidents in this. The things that I've been interested in and involved in most recently, just about 4 years ago, there was a California Medical Association, not a radical group. They had a panel together that I was on. There were a bunch of us. We actually came out with recommendations saying that, yes, cannabis should be legalized. It should be taxed and regulated so people don't get put into prison for it. We thought this was going to be a report that came out and was buried at the CMA. The CMA Board of Directors, which are elected physicians from all over the state, including places like Bakersfield, where Dave is from, etc., voted unanimously to adopt and endorse our paper. Shocked us. Then this one that Lieutenant Governor Newsom put together, 25 or so people from various fields. Similar recommendations, much more detailed. You can see it, you can find it easily online. And this will serve something as a template for the initiatives, and particularly the one that we think is going to be the one that is qualified and voted upon. But in studying all this all these years, I was just thinking this morning, and I wrote down, I'll just say them, 10 questions that always come up about pot that are the most common things that you hear about. First one is, does marijuana trigger insanity in anybody other than politicians and some parents? Why is pot really illegal, especially if alcohol and tobacco are legal? It's something that whenever you teach, and I taught drug education in schools, kids, just with their logical kind of laser, would say, you're telling us that that tobacco and alcohol kill all these people, those are legal, etc. Is pot addictive, quote unquote? Does pot harm kids' brains? Is pot a gateway drug to harder stuff? Is pot medicine, and if so, for what? Should pot be legalized? If pot should be legalized, what's the best way to do that in terms of taxation, regulation, etc.? What's the best way to educate youth about pot and other drugs? We'll hear about that. Will the feds ever legalize it, as opposed to states, or at least reschedule it for research? And finally, the most important one, what is the best ever version of Dark Star? So, we're not going to answer most of those questions tonight. So this tonight is going to be a condensed collective flashback up here, in a sense, of people who were there and who have studied it and who are here now. And so historical recollection, but also lessons for now. That's what we're really interested in. So we're going to hopefully get both entertainment and education here. And Dave started to talk a little bit, but I wanted him to say a little bit about how the knowledge of cannabis has evolved since he opened the clinic. What he didn't say was he came here from, I mentioned, Bakersfield, also the home of the late, great Merle Haggard. Second of silence. And Dave and I have actually met Merle a couple of times through the years. But he came here, he came to Berkeley when Berkeley was free, basically, Cal. In the early 60s, there was all sorts of things fomenting there, free speech movement, etc. Came to UCSF Medical School in the mid-60s, and you know what was starting to happen there? And he founded the hate clinic, as you said, right out of school, out of medical school. He also, and this is where I've been working from, I've attached myself to him as a mentor as soon as I got here 33 years ago. I was finishing my own training. I'd already heard of him, he was already famous, but he was real key in establishing the medical specialty of addiction medicine too. So these two things just alone, the free clinic and the addiction medicine, the ripple effect of what Dave has done has influenced in a positive way millions of people, and I think it's easy to say. And all this from a guy who one of his best professors said when he started the free clinic, Dave, you were so promising, where did you go wrong? I'll say a few more words for us, focus on cannabis.